Welcome to the operating system class. So, in our earlier discussions, we have talked about the memory management unit, what were its uses. After that, we talked about what was a main memory, what was a cache memory, etc. Next, we had enough discussion regarding what is base register, what is limit register. Then how a range is going to be calculated between base and limit is also being explained. Then we talked about the static binding and dynamic binding. And in these phases, we talked about what is compile time, what is load time, and what is execution time. And now we do have another discussion yesterday that was we call that there is some system programs of an operating system that will be compiler, linker, loader, and this can be some interpreter. So these are some of the system programs which are going to be incorporated in the operating system. That is what we talked. And were telling that the original addresses what we are going to be generated at the compile time. So as far as the relocatable addresses or relocatable code, it is going to be generated during the load time. And the binding, it is going to be a static or dynamic binding, which is going to be proved towards the execution time. Now, all these steps are going to be brought into this diagram where we have a source program, and that source program, it is going to be bringing up the compile time, and it is going to generate the object modules. That means I have some swap.c program. Now at this time, it is going to create some swap.obj. So right from source code to the object code is going to be taken up here. We call it as compiler. So compiler is going to take care, which it is going to convert the source code towards the object code. So there we do have represented with one swap and another with the obj, etc. Thereby we have a linker. So it is going to link up all the object modules whichever are generated towards the compiled output. So there we are going to call here as a linkage editor. Now they are going to be loaded into a memory which it is going to be taken up by this load module. So at this case we do have both the linker phase and we do have the loader phase. So it is going to load up the system modules, system libraries, and thereby it is going to prepare it for execution. So here we can have dynamic linking, which it is going to be done at the execution time. And at this case, we are going to have the word swap.exe here. So at the compiling stage, the object obj is going to be converted. From obj to swap phase, we do have linking phase and we do have loading phase. So compiler, it is going to convert the source code to the object code at this case, and the object code is going to be converted to an executable code, which it is going to take the help of a linker, or it is going to take of a help of a loader to bring this all. Fine. Then We had enough discussion between the address spaces of the memory management unit. One we are going to call it as logical addresses, another we are going to call it as physical addresses. So logical addresses, they are going to be generated by the CPU, whereas physical addresses, it is going to be assigned towards the memory unit. We had a discussion yesterday about the diagram, etc. So logical address space is going to have set of logical addresses which is generated by a program, and similarly the same happens with the physical address space, but this is with the central processing unit and physical unit was with the memory unit. So we talked about this. Yeah, we talked about the actual, and then we talked about relocatable. So original addresses, they are going to be the actual addresses. They are migrated towards the relocated. Then we are going to be call it as a relocatable addresses. So when there is a relocatable addresses, the binding is going to happen where we are going to call it as an execution time. Fine. So here you can see the diagram. Yesterday we talked about it. So the original addresses, when the logical address which is going to be raised by the CPU was 346, and the relocatable addresses register, it is going to have this the other change. So now we are going to add up an addition operation. So 14,000 was the relocatable register address, and logical address was 346. Then we do have some 14,346. So we got this physical address which it is going to be getting up. So we have a dynamic relocation, that is, it is moving from one place to another place. So the conversion mechanism, it is going to be taken up with this physical addresses. So memory management unit, it is going to act as an interface between the CPU and the memory. It is acting as an interface between the CPU and memory. So it is going to be key concept of the operating system, and CPU, it is going to rise up the logical address. CPU is going to rise up the logical address, and memory, it is going to rise up the physical address. So logical addresses are going to be converted to a physical addresses, thereby the assignment is going to be taken up. Got it? So whatever system libraries are going to be there now, and the program code is going to be combined by the loader, and thereby we are going to generate this binary program code. We are going to call here as some static linking. So static linking, now you can say advanced allocation of memory, and here memory is going to be allocated at runtime. Memory is going to be allocated at the runtime. So we say that word here as some dynamic linking. Now we do have some stub, which it is going to be a resident program, and it sees that the whatever libraries the things are going to be needed, those it is going to be link up. So it is going to replace the address of a routine, etc. And the shared systems, the shared files, whatever are there, those they are going to be patched up towards the static linking. So as far as static linking is going to be concerned, the system libraries, the program code, etc., they are going to be called up at the compile time, whereas dynamic linking we are going to assign. So this dynamic linking, they are linked at the execution time. That is that memory is going to be allocated. Memory is going to be allocated at the runtime. Then we are going to assume that as a dynamic linking. So this is all what goes from this topic here. And after this topic, we do have another content which is going to be shared up for you. So at this moment of time, we have one more topic which is going to be proved for you. So that is what we are going to call here as a swapping content. The second one, of the memory management unit, what we are going to take up will be a swapping content. So the word itself is saying swap. The word itself is going to tell it as a swap. Yeah, I have the content on A and I need to move to the content of B. So it has to be replaced. So 2010. So in between that, we are going to say some temp is equals to some A and A is equals to some B and B is equals to some temp. Then you declare it as some int A, B and temp, and thereby you are going to build up a code here and you are building a swap logic, right? We are bringing the swap logic. Now, the same swap, the same temp A, B, C, the same concept is now taking up, is already done by this memory unit with an operation called as some swap in and with an operation called as some swap out. So using these two operations, a swap in and swap out, the exchange of information between the CPU and memory, the exchange of information between the memory and the primary memory and the logical memory, or the primary memory and the secondary memory, all these aspects, they do work with the swapping. So as far as definition of a swapping is going to be concerned, we move a process temporarily out of a memory to a backing store, and then it is brought into memory to continue its execution, right? Now what is the thing? We are going to have a memory. We call it as physical memory, main memory, or a random access memory. Then we do have some secondary memory. Secondary memory, we are going to call it as some hard disk, some magnetic tape, magnetic disk, etc. What we are going to do? We are moving from process or program from primary memory to secondary memory, right? We are moving the program or a process from primary memory to the secondary memory. How is it is possible? There, we are going to work out with a simple technique called as a swapping. So, to do this, we have the backing store. So this backing store we are going to call here as some secondary memory. The backing store we are going to call here as a secondary memory, and it can accommodate all instances of to all users, and it is going to have fast disk and as huge as is possible, and there can be a direct access towards the memory segments, memory images, etc. Now, I just mentioning swap in, swap out. Now they are assumed here as rollout, nor they are going to be assumed as roll in. So where to move a roll in, where to move a rollout, that it is going to be taken up with a lower priority process can be swapped out when a higher priority process is going to be loaded. Very simple, right? So we are going to assign some resources priorities. When a priority is going to be given to a process and when it is going to be work with a resource, and if a high priority process is going to occur, so obviously the low priority process is now swapped out. That is, it is going to be rolled out, and thereby the high priority job is going to be brought forward. We are going to call here as a row in. So we fix some priorities to the process. Process priorities are going to be taken up by using the availability of resources. So using priority scheduling algorithms, etc. We have worked on lab exercise 2. So these are going to be a good ample applications of the memory management unit, where if the high priority comes, okay, you go for preemption rather than non-preemption. So when a preemption is going to come, a process can come not even at time interval t0, it can come at time interval t1, t2, etc. And obviously, if time interval t2 process is going to have a high priority than the process which is going to be executed at process t0, which is lower priority, obviously a swap in and swap out operations has to overcome. Then that is going to be done with the two primitives. One we are going to call it as rollout, another we are going to call it as a load in. So how is this known to the operating system, etc.? Then it is going to be known with a model called as a ready queue. So hope you recollect the CPU management system. One, we are going to have a new state, then it is going to be moved to a ready state, then it is moved to a running state, and thereby it is going to be moved to an exit state. And in between that, it is going to have a wait queue. It is going to have some wait state, and this is called as a wait state. We are going to call it as wait queue here. So then we do have a ready queue. So we have a ready queue. We are going to move this at this process at the ready queue. So now you can assume the CPU, it is going to be at the running state to what operations it is going to be taken up. So here we do have some scheduler. We do have some scheduler. We have some short-term scheduler, or we have some long-term scheduler, or we are having some medium-term scheduler. So these operations are going to see that the process with the high priority gets executed when compared to the low priority process, that it is going to be taken up with this roll in and roll out operations. Yeah. So while swapping, the things are going to be considered will be the binding address, because the physical address, now it is going to be the physical or an actual address. Now it is going to be converted to some relocatable address. Physical address, now it is going to be a relocatable address. That means assume your proper place was Vijayawada, now you have in Bhimavaram. So Vijayawada, you are going to call it here as an actual address, right? And for education you came here, so you are going to be call it as relocatable address. After your education is over, again what you go, you just move to their actual address. So that is how a vice versa operations where the binding is going to be taken up. So when a rollout or when a roll-in operations is going to be concerned, now a actual address will be binded towards a relocatable address. At that case, it is a static binding, it is a dynamic binding, whatever it is going to be considered. So here is a scenario where a swapping is going to be taken up. So we have this main memory. The main memory we are going to call it as a random access memory, and main memory is going to be partitioned into two spaces. One space we are going to call it as operating system available here. So when we are going to say it is an operating system, we are going to call it as system space, and the remaining space we are going to have it as a user space. In this users, we can save the programs, we can save the process here. So it can be some process P1, it can be some process P1, or it can be some process P2. So all the operating system primitives such as process management, memory management, IO management, file management, so all these we are going to call it as a primitives of operating system. They are going to be dependent, or resident or stubbed towards the higher parts of the memory location, etc. Now you can see that P1 is going to have a low priority process, and P2 is going to have some high priority process. If it is such a case, then we are going to say P1 is going to have a swap out operation, and P2 is going to have a high priority. So you can assume here as it is that having some high priority operation, and it is going to have some low priority operation here. Low priority operation. So P1 is going to be rolled out and moved to a low priority, and it is moved to a high priority. So swapping, it is similar towards a swap logic what we discussed now. So, and swapping, it is going to convert, or it is going to use from main memory. It is going to move some main memory to and fro towards the backing storage, towards the backing store. So backing store, we are going to call here as a backing store memory. We are going to call it as a secondary memory. We are going to call it as secondary memory. Yeah. So a CPU, it is going to switch between process. We call it as some context switching. We call it as some context switching. So now you can see process 1 and process 2 are going to be switched. P1 and P2 are going to be switched with each other, right? Switched with each other. Then we are going to say that content as a context switching. So process P1 is going to be moved up to process P2, and process P2 is going to be moved up to process 1. So the same memory locations are going to be relocatable, and the relocatable to are now given to the other program. In this way, memory is going to be migrated or switched from one location to another location. Now this process people are going to mention here as a context switching. So we can taking up this context switching. So context switching, the thing was it can reduce the size of a memory when it is going to be high. Similarly, context switching time can be very high. There are some processes which are going to be taken up, and the system calls what the context switching is going to be taken up with this operating system. One, it will be some requesting of memory, another it will be some releasing of a memory. So when we are going to use this swap in, and when we are going to use the swap out operations, we make some requesting of a memory, and we are going to make up this releasing of a memory. So other considerations we are going to look up with the pending of an IO, that is which is into the waiting state. So I can just recapture here. We are going to have a running queue. We do have some running queue, and running running state, and it is going to have some waiting state, and thereby it is exit state, and we do have ready state. So now you can see a interdependency between ready, running, and waiting. Here is an interdependency of a process which can be between this cycle here, right? It is like a cycle here. So the pending jobs which are needed for IO, right? So why the process is going to be taken up into waiting state? Because it needs some input output duo. That means we people, we have to supply some inputs to the process. So process is going to be taken out from the CPU so that we can give the inputs. Once we are going to supply the inputs, again it takes up to running state and then bring up to ready state. It moves from ready state to running state and starts execution. So pending IoT things are going to be happening. So this is what this second topic of second topic is going to be dealt it up. After this, we do have one more topic which I like to share. So the things regarding this will be as follows. One we are going to call here as a contiguous allocations, etc. I will take it up. So we are going to call here as a contiguous allocations, right? I think my screen is shared. Yeah, contiguous allocation. Contiguous, and another word First word we are going to call it as contiguous. Second word we are going to call here as non-contiguous. You should understand the difference between we take up this topic. If memory is going to be memory allocation is serial, then we are going to call it as non-contiguous. Not serial, or we can say different parts of memory is linked. So if I take up a program and that program is going to have a continuous set of memory allocation, then we are going to call that one as a contiguous allocation. Vice versa, what is non-contiguous? One part will be at one memory location, another part will be at another memory location. In this way, all they are going to be joined together. Then we are going to take up the topic as a non-contiguous. Just to recap again, I'll just see this. So I am going to have a program and process P0. So it is going to be between 0 to 100. So all the instructions are going to be memory locations are continuous and they are serial and they are stored one after the other. And it is going to be at this part. Okay. So we have this as a memory location. We call here as contiguous allocations. We call here as a contiguous allocation. Now, what is non-contiguous? What is non-contiguous? We have a memory here. So 0 to 10, then I'm going to have some 10 to 80. Next, I'm going to have some 80 to 100. This is program 1, part 1. This one is program 1, part 2. Third one is program 1, part 3. So where is program? Program size is 100. How this 100? 1 to 10, one location. 10 to 80, another location. 80 to 100, another locations. So 0 to 10, 10 to 80, 80 to 100. So it is going to join. It is going to join the partitions. How it is going to join? It is going to use the addresses. So it is going to have some actual, it is going to have some relocatable. So it is going to be with the memory management unit to which part it is going to be allocated, etc. So this all scenario we are going to call here as non-contiguous locations. Got it? So we have memory locations which it is going to be contiguous and which it is going to be non-contiguous. If it is going to be contiguous, the entire program will be one after the other. The lines, the memory locations will be totally serial, one after the other. We are going to call it as contiguous allocations. If it is not serial, then we are going to call it as non-contiguous allocations. Now, let us look into the theoretical part towards the contiguous memory allocations. So we have this main memory here. We have a main memory and which it is going to support up with both the operating system and the user. So the very first limitation towards a contiguous memory allocation, you can see it is a old method, and as we were telling this, we have primary memory assigned, so that is a random access memory. Now this it is going to be partition. The first part we are going to call it as system space. The second part we are going to call it as an user space. So we were telling two partitions, right? The first partition operating system is going to set, and the second partition it is going to sit up with the programs. Programs are written by the users. Programs are going to be written by the users and they are going to be part of a user space. So the residing operating system, it is going to have low memory with interpreter or vector, etc. So this is what we are going to call it as low order bits, and user space they are going to be brought up with some high order bits. So low order bits are going to be where the operating system is assigned to the low order bits, but whereas the user programs, they are going to be taken up with the high order bits. So high order bits, we call it as high memory locations. Low order bits, we are going to call it as a low memory thing. So now you can see the definition here. Each process is going to contain a single contiguous of memory location. So I can assign this user program to process 1, process 2 and process 3. I can assign this user program to process 1 and process 2 and process 3. So process 3 is spread right from one location to another location. Assume it is from 0 to 100. Second one is 100 to 200. Third one is from 200 to 300. Now these allocations are going to be very serial. These allocations are going to be serial. So that is why we are going to call it as contiguous. So all instructions, all whatever blocks, disk blocks in memory, whatever are assigned to the program, they are going to be serial and allocated to one after the other. So that is the reason why we are going to call them as a contiguous allocations. So after contiguous allocations, we do have this relocatable registers. We just mentioned, right, relocation. So I have my proper place, assume I am going to call it as Vijayawada. So this place I am going to call it as a actual address, the place where I am. Now I am going to move to Bhimavaram for my education. So this address we are going to call it as a relocatable address. Fine. The original address where a process is going to take up, those it is going to be called it as an actual address, and where the process has been brought temporarily for execution. So now we are going to say it is a relocatable address. And we were mentioning the actual addresses, they are going to be part of a memory unit, and relocatable addresses are going to be raised by the CPU. The things which are going to be in the main memory, in the memory unit, which the secondary memory, which it is going to be taken up, we are going to say as physical addresses. Now here the CPU is generating some addresses. We are going to call them as logical addresses, or we are going to call them as a virtual addresses. So now the contiguous will happen if a mechanism is needed to convert the actual addresses towards the physical addresses. How it is going to happen? It is going to happen with the component which is with the operating system memory management unit. It is going to happen with the operating system's memory management unit. So right from the first slide onwards, we were mentioning a program is going to have a base register. Assume base register is going to happen at 100 and it is going to end up at 175. So 100 it is going to be called it as some starting address, and it is going to end up at 175. So obviously the total number of locations you can compute will be the 75. So the program size, what we are going to calculate, that it is going to be part of a limit register. So we do have a starting register of base register of 100 and the limits register was of 75. So now the base register, it is going to contain a value of the smallest physical address, right? So what is the value of a smallest physical address? Because in this example, the starting address I have taken it as 100. So this 100, now it is going to be part of a base register. Second one, the limit register, it is going to contain the range of logical addresses, right? What was the range? The total number of locations a program is going to occupy. How many locations? It is going to horizon at 100 and it is going to spread at 175. So the total number of program locations is going to be 75. So limit register, it is going to hold this 75. Now the program is having this actual segments or the actual locations. Now they are going to be binded to a relocated value. Then the physical addresses are going to be converted to a logical addresses, and that it is going to be managed by the memory management unit. I was just mentioning. So actual addresses, they have to be taken up towards a relocatable addresses. Actual addresses are going to be with the memory unit, and relocatable addresses, they are raised by the CPU with logical addresses or virtual addresses. Now there is an operating system which is working with this memory management unit. Now the definition, you can see this memory management unit, it is going to map up the logical addresses at the runtime. The memory management, it is going to map up the logical addresses at the runtime. That is what we are going to say dynamic. That is what we are going to call here as a dynamic binded addresses. So this is why we are going to call the assignment was towards dynamically. Yeah. So who is going to take up all these necessary actions? It is going to be taken up at the kernel space. It is going to take up at the kernel space. So kernel space is going to be transient and it is going to be changing ever. So kernel space is a space operating system is going to stay up, and the functionality of memory management unit is going to keep this kernel towards the changing of the relocatable addresses, etc. Yeah. So before key takeaways of this class, today we started up with the operating system and we talked about the swapping operation. After swapping operation, we were telling that it can be a swap in and it can be a swap out operations. And later on, we talked about this contiguous allocation. So when a contiguous allocation is going to happen, memory allocation is going to be very serial. And the other vice versa of a continuous allocation, we are going to call it as a non-contiguous allocation, where memory gives a program to be spread at different parts and it is going to be properly linked. For that, it is going to use the functionality of a memory management unit, which is part of a operating system. So yeah, we do telling that operating system has system space which is going to occupy the low order bits, and user space, it is going to occupy the high order bits. So the two partitions of the memory we were telling, and relocatable address and physical address, actual address, we have had enough discussion, and base register and limit register also we do have these addresses. So that is what for today. Thank you for joining the class. Yeah, you can leave the class. I'm stopping up the recording.